So something that's been true of Smithville Brethren Church for many, many years is that we've had a strong Sunday school department. We've had Sunday school classes for little kids all the way up through the oldest of our folks as well. So if you look in your bulletin, you'll notice that there's two classes. One started a new study today, and then another is starting one next week. And it just reminds us of the opportunities that exist for us to be involved in Sunday school. So I just want to invite you to take part in one of our classes, have your kids go to our kids' classes, take part in one of our adult classes. It's a great place to learn God's Word. It's a great place to dig in. It's a great place to meet other people and to be able to share in life together. Father, thank you for this day we have to celebrate, a day set aside to worship you, to remind ourselves of what is critically important in our lives, and that is our relationship with you. Help us in this moment and in the moments that follow to celebrate who you are and all that you've done for us. In Jesus' name, amen.
I love you, Lord. Oh, your mercy never fails me. All my days I've been held in your hands. From the moment that I wake up until I lay my head, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. And all my life you have been faithful. And all my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. I love your voice. You have led me through the fire, and in darkest nights, you are close like no other. I've known you as a father, I've known you as a friend, and I have lived in the goodness of God. And all my life you have been faithful. And all my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. 'Cause your goodness is running after, it's running after me. 'Cause your goodness is running after, it's running after me. With my life laid down, I surrender now. I give you everything. 'Cause your goodness is running after, it's running after me. 'Cause your goodness is running after, it's running after me. 'Cause your goodness is running after, it's running after me. With my life laid down, I surrender now. I give you everything. 'Cause your goodness is running after, it's running after me. And all my life you have been faithful. And all my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, oh, I'm gonna sing of the goodness of God. 'Cause all my life you have been faithful. And all my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. Oh, I'm gonna sing of the goodness of God.
want you to imagine that you are you're at work and you're sitting at your desk and you have a moment where your mind shifts from work to going home, and you're anticipating what you're going to do when you get home, and you begin to think about those things that you're going to get to do, and your coworker comes by and says, "Hey, what are you thinking about?" And you say, "Well, I can't wait to get off work today." "Oh, really? What's going on?" "Well, are you going on vacation? Are you getting to go do something cool? You're going to go watch a game? You're going to a concert? Like, what do you get to do?" And you say, No. Better than that. I get to clean my gutters. Like, who thinks that? Who gets excited about gathering at Thanksgiving with their family? And they get just pumped. They're like, "I can't wait for the meal to be over so I can do the dishes," right? Like, who gets excited about the dishes? No one. No one gets excited about cleaning out their gutters. Now, at the end of the day, when they're done doing it, they might look back over their gutters and say, "Wow, I did a great job." Or they might look at the pile of dishes that were once there and now are on the drying rack or in the dishwasher and think, "All right, I feel good, that's done." But nobody gets cranked up about anticipating the excitement related to gutters and dishes and things like that. I feel the exact same way about Christmas lights. I never think to myself, "Wow, it's about time I get to hang the Christmas lights." Never once. Here's what I want us to think about this morning. Feelings were not meant to always be obeyed. We're talking about spiritual growth and development. We're talking about the pathways to do that, to move forward in it. We need to talk about how we feel, because how we feel impacts what we do. Now, just imagine you're with friends. You've decided you're all going to go to dinner, and you're discussing where you want to go. You, in your heart of hearts, can't wait to offer up, "Let's go to Coachy House," because you're a Coachy House lover. Now, your friends like Coachy House, but they don't love it, which that's a very rare breed, by the way. But they want to go get burgers that night. And eventually the whole group decides, we're going to get burgers. Now, how do you feel? Do you feel angry and irritated you didn't get your way? Do you say to yourself, "They just didn't listen to me," which, by the way, usually means I didn't get what I want. Usually people do listen, but they don't do exactly what you want. And then you say, "You're just not listening to me." That's just a free side note, okay? Or do you feel upset that you're not going to get to satisfy your desire for Coachy House pizza? Or do you feel a great sense of joy that you get to go out and have dinner with this group of friends? A friend of mine, a book I read, introduced me to this idea of dump friends. And here's the concept. It's the person who calls you and says, "Hey, I'm headed to the dump to get rid of some refuse. Do you want to come?" And you immediately say, "Yes." Not because you want to go to the dump, not because you love dumping refuse, but because you just love spending time with this person. It doesn't matter what you do. I'll go eat whatever as long as we can do it together, right? How we feel. Feelings are funny things. Sometimes we treat them, though, like they must be obeyed. Like they're in the driver's seat of our lives. I feel this, so I must do it. I desire this, so it must be good, and I must pursue it. If it feels good, if it feels right, is the motto of our age, then do it. But following our emotions sometimes can head us towards serious trouble. I want to read a bit of 1 Samuel chapter 25. It's an account in the Old Testament of an experience that David has. David has already been anointed as the new king, but Saul is not off the throne yet. And the story begins this way. Samuel, who's the prophet of the nation of Israel, it says, "Now Samuel died, and all Israel assembled and mourned for him, and they buried him at his home in Ramah. Then David moved down into the desert of Paran. A certain man in Maon, who had property in Carmel, was a very wealthy man. He had thousands of goats and 3,000 sheep, which he was shearing in Carmel. His name was Nabal, and his wife was Abigail. Notice the description of her. She was an intelligent and beautiful woman, but her husband was surly and mean in his dealings, He was a Calebite. That's called foreshadowing. Now the story's going to live out her intelligence and his surliness. While David was in the wilderness, he had heard that Nabal was shearing sheep, so he sent 10 young men and said to them, "Go up to Nabal at Carmel and greet him in my name. Say to him, 'Long life to you, good health to you and to your household, and good health to all that is yours. Now I hear that it is sheep shearing time. When your shepherds were with us, we did not mistreat them, and the whole time they were at Carmel, nothing of theirs was missing. Ask your own servants, and they will tell you. Therefore, be favorable toward my men. Since we come at a festive time, please give your servants and your son David whatever you can for them.' When David's men arrived, they gave Nabal this message in David's name, and they waited. Nabal answered David's servants, 'Who is this David? Who is this son of Jesse? Many servants are breaking away from their masters these days. Why should I take my bread and water and the meat I have slaughtered for my shearers and give it to men coming from who knows where?' Verse 12. David's men turned around and went back. When they arrived, they reported every word. David said to his men, 'Each of you strap on your sword.' So they did, and David strapped on his as well. About 400 men went up with David, while 200 stayed with the supplies. A group of servants is sent by David. David and his men are in need of some food, and they know Nabal. They've had experience with him. They've helped out his shepherds. They've protected the shepherds and the flocks. And so they go to Nabal, expecting Nabal to return a favor by providing some food. Nabal's response is, "Who is David?" Which you got to figure is the wrong thing to say. We find out in the record that, in fact, the servants go back to David and report every word, but it's exactly what you would do as a parent when a child comes back with you with a message from another adult. What exactly did they say? Don't give me the summary. Don't tell me your interpretation of it. Just tell me the words they used, then I can interpret what it means. So Nabal, when he says, "Who is David? Who is this son of Jesse?" People are breaking up. I don't trust you. I don't trust that you're from him, and even if you are, I don't really care. That's the kind of message that is underlying the words that their servants would have reported to David. Now, Nabal might be feeling a little put off. He might be feeling a little uncertain, like he's getting played, like these guys are coming using David's name, but they're really not servants of David anymore. But whatever he's feeling, it comes across as inhospitable. Nabal also says that there's a sense maybe he's put upon, he's got to feed his own sharers and he's got to take care of them. He doesn't really want to necessarily take care of David and his men. So he rejects. He's inhospitable in his words and his behavior, and all that gets reported back to David. When David hears the report from the servants, how he's feeling is fairly evident by what he does. David basically is saying to himself, "I'll show you who I am. After all we've done for you, this is how you treat me." By the way, it sounds like something parents would say. Take out the trash. After all I've done for you, I feed you, I clothe you, I put a roof over your head, I give you a car to drive, and you can't even take the trash out. Spouses might say that to each other, right? But it's that mindset. I've done all this, and now you're treating me this way. David's men have protected Nabal's men, has protected their flocks. He could have overpowered them. They could have taken from them. They could have mistreated them. But in all of that, they didn't, and now Nabal is snubbing them. "I have nothing for you. I'm not going to give you anything." So David's response is, he says to his men, "Put on your swords." So they put on their swords, and David put on his. 400 men went up with David, while 200 stayed with the supplies. Now, David's not getting any food, so did David tell his 400 men to put on swords so they could go out hunting? They're going to go wild game hunting? Go get your swords, boys. We're going to start spearing some whatevers. We're going to go get some meat. No, he's going to war with Nabal. He's going to war with Nabal because of how Nabal has responded to his request. David is planning to obey his feelings. He's taken this offense, and he's going to make Nabal pay. And it won't just be paying with provisions, but he's going to have him pay with human life. David's been insulted, and he thinks that's so critical that bloodshed is the answer. Paul says in Philippians 3, "Join together in following my example, brothers and sisters, just as you have a model. Keep your eyes on those who live as we do. For as I have often told you before and now tell you again, even with tears, many live as enemies of the cross of Christ. Their destiny is destruction. Their God is their stomach. Their glory is their shame, and their mind is set on earthly things. But our citizenship is in heaven, and we eagerly await the Savior from there, the Lord Jesus Christ, who by the power that enabled him to bring everything under his control will transform our lowly bodies so that we will be like his glorious body." Their God is their stomach. It's about obeying our feelings, our desires, our cravings. They're led around by the nose, we might say, by what they desire. David is clearly dealing with a lack of food and supply. That's the problem. But the real problem here is the offense he takes at Nabal's response. Without the intervention of Abigail that comes later in the passage, and you can read about it, without that intervention, Nabal and his men would have been slaughtered by David, or there at least would have been a war. We all have choices about how we react to things that happen in our lives. We can react out of hurt, we can lash out at people, but we would never get to escape the consequences of doing that. David would have had to have lived with the results for the rest of his days. We might find ourselves reacting emotionally to situations, which we often do, sometimes inappropriately so in some sense. We get irritated, we get angry, we feel we're wronged, or in some way somebody has treated us poorly. And in a sense, in the moment, we don't choose how we respond emotionally. Our emotions just come. They kind of are what they are in the moment. But we always have the choice to make a measured response rather than getting carried away by how we feel. Feelings were never meant to be ignored, nor were they meant to always be obeyed or followed. We wouldn't want to say to David, "Oh, just don't bother Nabal. Just ignore him. He's kind of a brute. Just ignore what he had to say." But we don't really make forward progress by simply ignoring how we feel or trying to suppress it. Here's the second thing I want us to catch. Feelings can be a clue to an area of our life that needs development. Let's say you're out playing a game, someone knocks into you, you fall over and you break your arm. This happened recently in our household. You feel pain right away. You don't know that your arm is broken, you just know you're on the ground, you fell weird, and your arm hurts like crazy right now, right? The pain is not the problem. When you have an experience like that, you don't go to the doctor and the doctor just says, "Oh, you hurt? Here, take these. Oh, you hurt? We'll give you an injection. Oh, you hurt? We'll give you a shot in your nose of some really good stuff, and you won't feel it anymore." And then you'll leave and you'll think, "I did a great job." And then a little while later, all that stuff will wear off and now you'll still hurt again, but you won't be my problem. That's not how it works. The problem is not the pain. The pain is a sign, a symbol, an arrow, a pointing towards something that is not right. The problem with someone with leprosy, real leprosy, is that they lose their ability to feel pain, and so they do things not knowing that what they're doing is going to cause them harm. If you and I reach out towards a pot on the stove that's been on and we're not thinking right, as soon as we can sense the pain, we'll pull our hand away. But someone with leprosy will not, and their hand will get burned because they don't have the ability to experience the pain. The doctor might examine you and say, "Can you tell me where it hurts?" It begins to become a clue as to where the problem really is. Again, the pain is not the problem. The problem is something else that needs to be addressed. So we roll into difficult circumstances. You get bad news, you flip out, you instantly become angry about something like David, and you want to go to war. By the way, anyone ever want to go to war? Right? Right? Where you want to just burn things down? Ever have the urge to get online and post? If I could just tell everybody what a horrible person this person is. Right? You want to give someone a piece of your mind? You want to set them straight? You want to say to them, or maybe in your own mind you're saying, after all I've done for you, your emotions ramp up, you get louder, less civilized, your racing thoughts are going from 0 to 100 miles an hour in a second, and in all these moments we might feel justified. I'm angry because I got the short end of the stick, and you might find people that agree with you, and you tell them the story, and they're like, absolutely, you should be angry, and you should do that, and you should write about that, and all that stuff. It'll make you feel better if you just vent. But we have the responsibility to deal with our emotions and the reactions that come from them. Two things need to happen. The first is that we need to live out the fruit of the Spirit, the part of the fruit of the Spirit that is called self-control. Self-control. Self-control is operational when I am not allowing myself to be led around by something else, by my emotions, by my reactions, by the things that I desire. Self-control. I mentioned, I think 2 weeks ago, maybe even last week, I don't know, that I made this commitment to work on my car every day. And here's what I got to tell you. Just like cleaning the gutters, there are times where I don't want to do it. Like I don't lay in bed at night and think, oh, wow, tomorrow I'm going to take an hour and I'm going to be able to sand body filler. Woo! I never say that to myself. Sometimes I say to myself, oh no, it's getting late and I haven't gone out and worked on it yet. I better go out and get it, go do something. So I go out and I just wipe the dust off and I go back in. No, I don't do that. No, I'm not cheating. I go out and I do something substantive to the car, and I usually, probably always at this point, feel better that I made the choice. I'm following through with this commitment. I didn't want to do it. In the moment, I didn't feel like doing it. But I get out there and I do something, and now I see, okay, forward progress, forward progress. That's self-control. If you go with how you feel all of the time, then you are no longer your master. Your feelings are your master. And God doesn't desire us to be led around by our feelings. Different avenue, different area. If you want to save money, if you've made this commitment on, we're going to save money, we're going to invest, we're going to save for retirement, whatever, I don't care. You're going to do that. How's that going to happen? Part of how that's going to happen is self-control. What's not going to happen? You're not going to make the commitment to save money and then never be tempted to spend money on something immediately that will stop you from saving money for the future. That's not going to happen. I can tell you that. It's going to be the exact opposite. The soon as you make the commitment to say, I'm going to start saving money, Apple's going to come out with an iPhone QXZ 74321 that will cook your cookies for you or something. And you'll think, I love phones and technology, and you know I love cookies, so I have to have it. Right? And there I am, sucked back in to desires and wants and all the stuff. That's self-control when I say, no, I've chosen to do this for a greater cause. You know, when I follow my feelings, when I follow my desires and all that kind of, sometimes I feel good for a little bit, and then I realize I've really short-circuited something much better. That happens. Self-control is not ignoring how you feel. It's choosing to operate at another level and at a different direction. So you go back to the story of David and Nabal. David could have gotten the report back from his servants that Nabal, what he had said and that he wasn't going to help. And instead of going into full war preparedness, he could have said to himself, wow, that kind of angers me. Man, I should go teach him a lesson. That'll be good. But instead, I'm going to cool off and I'll decide tomorrow. That's not what he does, by the way. He instantly decides, what's the report? Okay, boys, put on your swords. We're out of here. But he could have done something else. He had lots of other choices apart from starting a war. We are responsible for how we react in difficult situations. And exercising self-control, which, by the way, is not valued in our culture at all, will pay great dividends. You get into a discussion That's a fight. When I say discussion, I use air quotes. That means a fight. You get in a fight with your spouse, and you have the opportunity to say things that will be hurtful to the other person, and you make a decision not to do it. That self-control, ladies and gentlemen, that will pay off. As well as the reverse will have a payday, but a different kind of payday, right? Self-control, using self-control, exercising self-control is excellent. God wants us to grow in the capacity to live out a life where we are self-controlled in this way, so that we are not our own little gods, but we are submitting our feelings, our desires, our impulses to be in line with the will of God. This may end up as another message, but think for just a moment about the emotional responses of Jesus. You just start ticking through. Well, he got angry and he cleared the temple. That'd be a good one to talk about, wouldn't it? He looked over Jerusalem and he said, the words were, they're like sheep without a shepherd. I'm like a mother hen that wants to gather her chicks, but they won't come to me. He looked at the eyes of a woman whose brother had died, and he wept. Emotions aren't bad. Emotions that are tied with the truth of the word and truth in line with God's will are wonderful and beautiful. But oftentimes our emotions drag us away. So self-control. It's like a dam that we put up to stop the floodgates and the flood of things coming our way or heading from us. But there's a better way. Better than exercising self-control. Let's describe self-control as kind of a level 1 where we just hold back. We don't say what we were going to say. We don't do what we're going to do. Instead of putting on the sword, David, we put it down and we think about this for a little bit. That's great. But folks, that's not all that God wants to do for you. God doesn't want you to exercise self-control and feel like for the rest of your life you're just holding up building a dam between this flood of negative stuff that might ooze and flow and fall over all these other people and cause destruction. He wants to do something much greater. And the greater thing he wants to do is he wants to change you at the deepest parts of who you are. So I want you to think about this. Imagine situations that currently irritate you or make you very angry. And imagine a day when they don't anymore. Where you're not exercising self-control and saying, I'm really upset, but I'm not going to say what I'm thinking. How about a day when that same situation happens and you're not even thinking the way you used to be thinking, therefore you're not feeling the way you used to be feeling? How about a temptation that has just plagued you for years? And you get to a point where God has so changed you from the inside out that thing doesn't attract you anymore. It doesn't matter what it is, whatever desire or interest or whatever it is. It doesn't attract you anymore. The pathway is to interrogate your emotional responses. So you're in a situation and you get all cranked up about something or you get sucked away into something. You got to ask yourself, why am I reacting this way? What's going on? Why does my arm hurt? Well, I fell on it. Okay, but why does it still hurt? What are we going to do? We're going to take an x-ray. How about you take an x-ray of your emotional responses? Don't take them at face value, like, well, I just responded the way I do. That's just the way it is. Everybody would respond that way. And don't get an echo chamber going where you just get around those people who say to you, you're right, you were mistreated. Get around people who say to you, why do you feel that way? Tell me what you're thinking. Are you thinking, after all I've done for you? After all I've done for all of you, and you treated me this way or that way? Are you thinking you deserve something? Are you thinking you are owed something? Are you thinking that someone's taking advantage of you, ripping you off? Like, what are you thinking that's causing you to feel this way in this situation? We got to interrogate our emotions. We got to interrogate our feelings. Paul says in Philippians 3, their God is their stomach. And in the same passage, he says, their minds are set on earthly things. The maturing follower of Christ has their mind set on heavenly things, not earthly things. Earthly things can be material goods. Maybe we think of those most readily, right? We think, houses and boats and cars and planes and all this kind of stuff. But it can also be physical pleasures. It could be maintaining our reputation amongst people or the applause of other people that we want to receive. All these things can become the center of our world. And James says, you want to know what causes problems amongst people? Internal desires that are unfulfilled. And you go to war for them. You go to battle because you have a bruised ego. You go to battle because you can't stand being wrong. You go to battle because you feel like someone slighted you. Can you imagine a day where you're not governed by those kinds of emotional responses or feelings? Can you imagine a day where your inner feelings are in line with God's? In such a way that in difficult circumstances, you respond as Jesus would. And your responses are not full of, destructive words, but full of words that are full of grace and truth and love and mercy. It is never too late to begin or to continue to become the person God desires you to be. What will you do next? Will you speak to a trusted friend or seek out a counselor? We need to spend time interrogating our feelings and our reactions. And the Lord is calling us to a rich emotional life that is transformed by His amazing power. Father, help us to move forward in our lives with You, to draw closer to You through not just, as we spoke last week, about how we think, but how we feel and respond and react as well. For You desire our whole heart, our whole mind, all of our strength and our soul to love You actively every day. In Jesus' name, amen.
The Lord bless you and keep you. Make His face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn His face toward you and give you peace. The Lord bless you and keep you. Make His face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn His face toward you and give you peace. Amen. 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 The Lord bless you and keep you. Make His face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn His face toward you and give you peace. Amen. 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 Amen.
his favor be upon you for 1,000 generations, and your family, and your children, and their children, and their children. May his presence go before you, and behind you, and beside you, all around you, and within you. He is with you, he is with you in the morning, in the evening, in your coming, and your going, and your weeping, and rejoicing. He is for you, 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 he is for you.
Father, we thank you for the emotions that you've given us, that we can experience the glories of this world and the way in which you've created us and created this world to experience joy and peace and love. And yet, sometimes, Father, our emotions betray us and we follow them where we shouldn't go. So help us, not just to exercise self-control, but help us to let you touch the deep, deep parts of who we are and change us from those places, from the inside out. In Jesus' name, amen.